Well, with another big blockbuster on the way in the month of May, here we are doing another retrospective series in the build-up to the newest installment in the series. That's right, we're looking forward to the Furiosa prequel, and I'm going to look at all 4 Mad Max movies that we've gotten so far. Starting with the OG from 1979, 45 years ago this year. Can you believe that? And this one was co-written and directed by George Miller, a great filmmaker if I ever saw one. He might have put out one of the most influential dystopic franchises with this Mad Max IP. So this movie is set in Australia a few years from now, in the near future. And they're facing a breakdown of civil order basically due to the widespread oil shortage and ecocide. And there's only one man who can keep society from utter collapse. His name is Mad Max Rockatansky, played here by Mel Gibson in his star-making turn. And first of all, I love Mel Gibson in this role. He is so stone cold, and his absolutely no-nonsense attitude, like you could not have guessed that this guy was as young as he was when he went into audition for this. I believe he was only 23 when he went in for Mad Max. And it's not hard to see why this was the star-making turn for him. He was absolutely phenomenal in this. And number 2, I love this character, Max Rockatansky, a police officer turning into somewhat of a vigilante. This was 10 years before we ever got Michael Keaton as Batman in one of the most famous vigilante movie performances ever. And keep in mind, this is not based off of some comic book. DC or Marvel did not put out any sort of Mad Max comic on the shelf. This is a completely original idea. And boy, even 45 years to the day, it is very impressive how ambitious this movie is as science fiction dystopia. Because the world has not completely gone to shit as of yet. Like, the roadways are still extremely organized in this one, but you can sense that there's some weirdos who are there to shake things up. And nowhere is that more apparent than the motorcycle gang who opposes Max in this one. Their leader is Toe Cutter, played by the fantastic Hugh Keays-Byrne. I hope I said his name right. Damn, this guy is so intimidating. And honestly, every single member of this motorcycle gang, each one of them is so distinct. You remember what each one of them looks and sounds like. Again, only from the crazed, wacky mind of George Miller, who did a great job directing this thing. And it's still so damn impressive that this movie used so many practicals, because you didn't have the technology and the luxury of CGI that we have nowadays. No, George Miller and his team had to get super ultra creative with how they got all these sequences. And goodness gracious, some of these chase sequences are still white knuckle, stomach curdling, just so violent. There's a lot of action movies these days that wishes it was the original Mad Max. But the chase sequences and the whole idea of this society collapsing because of an oil shortage, even though all these ideas are fantastic, Mad Max still has a lot of heart to it. And Max's relationship with his wife in this, played by the excellent Joanne, it is so sweet. I love how they're basically signing to one another that they are crazy about the other. And when Max's wife first brings this up, he has to basically ask for clarification on what this means. But then when he uses it on her closer to the end of the movie in the turnaround, man, it just gets you in the heartstrings, doesn't it? And even though this is a fantastic standalone movie on its own, it really makes you excited to see what George Miller had coming up next. Because Mad Max does not have a peaches and roses type of happy ending at all. No, it feels like it's extremely cornered around revenge, and it's going to play into the sequel, which, yes, we will be talking about. But it's almost like Mad Max is like a hidden origin story for this vigilante type of character. Because his wife being abducted and then killed by this motorcycle gang is what leads him towards this path of revenge. Which, to this very day, Max Rockatansky is still on. And man, you gotta respect this original Mad Max for what it was able to achieve on the filmmaking side. George Miller did a great job directing this. You really felt the danger and the urgency of this. Because apparently the shoot of this was extremely hard. Not only was Joanne actually brought in as a replacement for Rosie Bailey, who was injured in a bike accident, sadly, this whole shoot felt incredibly dangerous. According to George Miller, the crew had to close roads and they didn't even have permits to film there. And they also didn't use walkie-talkies on set either, because their frequency would actually coincide with the police's radio. Like, could you imagine the cops showing up on set and shutting shutting the production down. We never would have gotten a Mad Max franchise if that would have happened. This is where the term guerrilla filmmaking comes into play. That's how George Miller described it, and it's a perfect analogy. And I think this is a great first installment and a phenomenal introduction to an iconic action movie hero. And even more so, it's a great introduction to Mel Gibson. In hindsight, I do think the movie looks a little bit dated in terms of the editing and some of the choices that they made. Like, some things do look a little bit choppier than I would like, but at the end of the day, this is still a super influential action movie that a lot of action movies wish they were. A lot of action movies nowadays are very fortunate to have the technology that they do, and they're fortunate to have the abilities that they do to go out and film where they want to. Without any of those luxuries, what George Miller was able to pull off, you have to respect the man immensely for that. I'm going to give the OG Mad Max an A-. The only thing that's keeping it from a higher grade is what I mentioned, the editing choices that were made look a little bit choppy. But like I said, still a fucking awesome movie, and I can't wait to talk about Mad Max 2, which was marketed as the Road Warrior in the United States. And that's where the original Mad Max trilogy at least, that's where it really picked up for me. Let me know what you think of this original Mad Max down in the comments. Let me know which one is your favorite. And let me know also what your favorite Mel Gibson performance is. Is it this one? Is it something else like Braveheart? If you like discussing all new things in the cinematic world, this is a great channel to become a part of. So do consider becoming a subscriber today. Tap on that thumbs up if you haven't already. We are in hot pursuit of May 25th when Furiosa comes out in theaters. I cannot wait to go through all the rest of these movies with you guys. And I can't wait to dig deeper into this year's blockbuster season, which still looks incredibly stacked. So y'all are the best. Look out for more content very soon. Thank you again for your support. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.